We move over here. Speaking of positive momentum, and I say that with like some caution because it's the preseason and it's not too concerning per se. We move over to our Kraken, who started the week game wise in split squad action. So on the 25th, the group at the Calgary Flames in the Saddle Dome won 5-3. Our player of the game forward Ellie Tolvanen and 2 assists, 2 points, 1 plus minus, a hit, and 2 shots on the day. Washington-born forward Kyler Yamamoto had 2 goals in this one, so you give him a star as well for that win. And then the squad that was at home, actually went to a penalty shootout, funny enough, and would lose that one in the shootout. So the scoreboard would read 2-3. Our player of the game before the shootout, and even in overtime, Joey was rock solid. Just the shootout, such a tough situation. Our player of the game is goaltender Joey Decord. Pre-shootout, he had 15 saves, and 0 goals allowed there. And, this could be its own video, but more and more, Joey Decord is looking like the backup goaltender for the Seattle Kraken roster. Chris Drieger's kind of gotten eaten up on a few different occasions, and Joey Decord has just kind of been lifted more and more, where the key stuff is for a player's partner. I mean, yep. Partner, D partner, goalie partner. Yeah. For a tandem, he's just been playing a lot with the NHL squad, whether that be in the reps that they get at training camp or these games in the preseason. So we'll go now to our photos of the game here before we get to the Canucks. And I've been talking a lot about Decord, but we'll get to it there. In this photo of the game by Matthew Bermudez in the shutout loss, I thought this one was really cool to see kind of the interfaces of the face-off circle. Matty Benier is obviously trying to win that face-off there. You've got the Calgary player, you've got the official. So I thought that was really cool to tie that all up. And then in the preseason game against the Canucks on the 28th here in Seattle, a 3-1 win. Our player of the game once again forward Ellie Tolvanen making an impact, getting 2 points once again, 2 goals, 2 points, a 1 plus minus, and 2 shots on the game. And another really solid performance by our photo of the game here is taken by Liz Wolter. Joey Decord in the goal. I kind of messed it up there. But again, long story short, because of the scenarios he's been put in, whether that be in, drills up at training camp or in practice, as well as here in the games, it really looks like Joey Decord will be the one backing up Philip Grubauer and not Chris Drieger. There's still some practice to go. Head coach Dave Haxtell has said on a multitude of occasions that they're going to look at their options extensively throughout the course of the preseason there. But I just think it's more evident day in and day out that's going to be Decord. So we get to our player of the week here. And I mean, because of the amount of times I said his name, you could argue that it would be Joey, but I went with Ellie Tolvanen. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, a 2 plus minus, 1 hit, and 4 shots over the course of the past week. That is pretty good. And I know that with a good amount of forwards on this roster, whether it be guys who are getting taken a flyer on and will more than likely be AHL guys, or you look at where this roster is right now. I was talking to somebody about this, but if you look at the top few lines for the Kraken, that top line, that McCann, Beniers, Eberle line is insane on its own. That's line 1. We go to line 2. You could argue that it's the Bjorkstrand, Gord, Tolvanen line. That's line 2. And then I haven't even mentioned Andre Burakovsky's name yet, which is wild to think about just because of the amount of talent in this team. Anyway, point being, you could easily look over him just because of the amount of talent, but he's shown out and it's really like, hey, this is my spot. I'm going to be on this team and I'm going to contribute here. You can't just push me out like that. It's been fun to watch that. It's been fun to watch Ellie. He's been a great, great story to watch since the Kraken got him for free from Nashville, effectively. So, yeah, I mean, you can only take so much from these preseason games. There are a few things that are like, hey, this is sticking out. Tyke Kartye looks like he belongs. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare is a excellent personality and has spent some time after practices to help some of his younger teammates work on faceoffs and things of that nature. And as I mentioned, Joey Decord looks more and more like the starting goalie as this goes on. So with that, and I mentioned preseason, trimming down the roster is taking place. On the 26th, those moves started. The following players were reassigned to their major junior clubs: Lucas Dragicevic with the Tri-City Americans in the WHL, Yager Furcus of the Moose Jaw Warriors in the WHL, David Goyette of the Sudbury Wolves in the OHL, Caden Hamill of the Everett Silvertips with the WHL, Andre Loshko of Royan Naranda, the Huskies in the QMGHL, pardon me, Carson Rekoff of the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL, and then Edward Chelat of the Barre Colts in the OHL. The following players on the same day were reassigned to OHL Coachella Valley and the Firebirds: Maxime Andreev, Jackson Carter, and that's Jaxson, Caster, not Carter, pardon me, and Kyle Jackson. Kyle Jackson, a forward that really tore it up for the battalion with Ty Nelson up in North Bay. He had a quiet year and kind of wasn't really recognized amongst the a bunch of the fan base. Really, it was obviously Ty Nelson's a lot of fun, but Kyle Jackson had a really productive season, I thought, in his respective major junior clubs. So speaking of Ty Nelson, on the 27th, the team reassigned Nelson to the North Bay battalion of the OHL. It'll be interesting to see if he plays at all with the Firebirds this season, because I know he was with the roster in their playoff push. So it'll be interesting to see if Ty is here for that. So on the 29th, the following players were reassigned to the Coachella Valley Firebirds training camp: goaltender Jack LaFontaine, forward Jacob Melanson, who you can see here getting into a little bit of a skirmish with Vancouver in that last game this previous week. Logan Morrison, Ville Otavainen, Tucker Robinson, and Ryan Winterton. All of them a bunch, well, not all of them per se, but a bunch of really talented forwards that should really make this Firebirds team a lot of fun to watch when the season arrives. So looking ahead here, we've got a few games to go for our Kraken in the upcoming. Next is today, later in the day, October 2nd versus the Edmonton Oilers. That's a 7 o'clock puck drop. I'm going to be heading up to the Iceplex for morning skate here in a little bit for that. October 4th at the Canucks. We'll see the Canucks again, 7 p.m. Pacific time. It's funny because this game is technically listed as a neutral site, but it's up in Abbotsford, which is the AHL affiliate for the Canucks. So not really neutral, I guess. I digress. It's a 7 o'clock puck drop once again, and then the Kraken will wrap up their preseason schedule on October 6th at the Edmonton Oilers with a 6 p.m. Pacific time start. That is the final game of the NHL preseason for the Kraken as they look to make the, I know I talked about it with the Mariners and how they set the expectations here, but with the Kraken, it really feels like you're going to be able to take the next step. You've got this great leadership group in place. You've got the depth, and I think that depth stuck around. A lot of people were like, hey, is this sustainable? Is this something that they're going to be able to do next year? I don't know about all the records and such, but I think that there's the possibility there to continue to be a highly offensive unit going forward. So